The Nightbeat starts right now.
Done for the season. Forward San Antonio Spurs fans have heard a lot over the last 48 hours. ESPN reports Hall of Fame coach Greg Popovich will not be returning to the sidelines this season to lead the Silver and Black. And if you remember, Coach Pop suffered a mild stroke at the beginning of the season, and he hasn't coached since. Mary Rominger joins us at the desk now to talk about what this means for the Spurs moving forward. So, Mary, there's a lot of sobering news that's been going on for the past 48 hours, and this team had a positive outlook not that long ago.
Yeah, it's crazy to think how things can flip in just a few days. The Spurs season derailed after we learned just 2 days ago Victor Wembanyama is out for the season due to a blood clot in his shoulder. Now, first and foremost, the report that Greg Popovich will not be back coaching this season raises concerns to his long-term health stemming from the mild stroke he suffered on November 2nd. Now, the expectation around that time was that Coach Pop would make a full recovery, despite there not being a timeline for his return. Fast forward to now, not only is his return this season out of the question, now ESPN reporting his future with the NBA remains uncertain. At 75 years old, Popovich has accomplished more than a majority will in a lifetime. He's the NBA's all-time winningest coach, 3-time Coach of the Year, 5-time NBA champion with the Spurs, and he's been a fixture in this city and beyond for decades. All we've known is Coach Pop since 1996. It would be unfortunate for Pop's career to end not on his own terms, but after this latest report, that's a real possibility. And I don't think this changes much for the Spurs this season. Mitch Johnson has taken over head coaching duties and has kept the team afloat. But the big question is how the Spurs front office will act on this situation. And that may depend on how Pop is doing this offseason. They may act sooner. We just don't know. But more important than all of that is that Pop gets healthy. And it's reported that Wemby and Pop have talked a lot as of late, potentially leaning on each other through this challenging time.
Yeah, I mean, I can't even imagine how challenging it is for them. And for Spurs fans, I mean, this is a lot. It's been a lot over the last 48 hours hearing both about Wemby and now Coach Pop.
Yes, very unexpected, but at least now the Spurs have an answer and they can move forward with the rest of their season.
Yeah, and I know you're going to be following this for us, and you're going to have much more coming up in sports in just a couple minutes.
Yes, exactly.
All right, thank you, Mary. Closure and justice. It's what a San Antonio family is still looking for 5 months after Joseph Smothers' death. The father and minister was hit and killed trying to cross Fredericksburg Road. As the Night Team's Erica Hernandez reports, his family is still trying to fill the gap he left behind.
That pain, is always going to be there, that sting.
Delky Strickling and her family still grieving 5 months after her father, 73-year-old Joseph Smothers, was killed. The Smothers found San Antonio after losing their New Orleans home in Hurricane Katrina. His loved ones say he was a man of God and had a lot of love to give.
He liked to preach to people. He liked to tell people about God's word and just let them know that they were loved.
But on September 7, 2024, their lives would be changed forever.
It was in this busy stretch of Fredericksburg Road on the 5000 block. Joseph came to pay a bill, but then he never made it home.
What we do know is that whomever, struck him did not, stop and render aid. And unfortunately, it took another vehicle to impact him and notify the police of what had happened.
It's why Crime Stoppers is now asking for your help. While investigators found a license plate and parts belonging to this 2020 Toyota Tacoma, the driver hasn't been found, and the Smothers' family has a message.
Because we deserve the closure and the peace for what happened, and we deserve justice for what happened to him. We forgive you. We just want you to come forward.
Erica Hernandez, KSAT 12 News.
So if you have any information that could help officers make an arrest in this case, you can call Crime Stoppers. That number, 210-224-STOP. It's also right there at the bottom of your screen, and it's also posted on our website, ksat.com. All right, so it was kind of foggy outside. It was, I don't know, like wet, gross.
Kind of misty, kind of damp.
How much longer is, I mean, you can see it right there on live cam. Capturing it there on the camera, but how much longer is this going to stick around?
I would say about 12-ish hours, give or take, for a rough estimate.
Okay.
Don't quote me exactly 12 hours.
Okay.
But yeah, we're still seeing that little bit of dampness and that fog really start to arrive for us in South Texas as there's extra moisture. But good news is none of this is freezing fog. It is just regular fog. All of our temperatures are above freezing, which is great news considering we've had below freezing temperatures the last week or so. We're still expecting and still seeing some mist and a light drizzle. Most of that is still to our north and east, is still picking up a little bit on the Weather Authority radar, but visibility's slowly decreasing about 2 miles in San Antonio. A little more as you get into areas of the hill country, but out east and towards the coastal plains, getting about 3 miles of visibility in Seguin, and it will continue to stay about the same, maybe it'll worsen a little bit, but I'll go over the track and timing of the fog coming up in just a bit, Daniela.
Cibolo police arrested Frederick Simmons this week. You see him right here. He's accused of exposing himself and assaulting several women inside a Walmart. Police say they were called to that store on Cibolo Valley Drive last month for an alleged assault. He ran away before police got there, and they issued 2 warrants for his arrest. Turns out police believe he's done similar acts inside other area stores. Police asked for help to track him down, and they were able to arrest him on Thursday. So if you're a victim or if you have any information about Simmons, police want to hear from you. You can call Cibolo Police using that number on your screen, 210-858-3238. The Vatican says Pope Francis's condition is getting worse. The pontiff was originally taken to the hospital for pneumonia in both his lungs. That's since worsened into asthmatic respiratory crisis. Within the last few hours, the Vatican says he's now in critical condition. So that means he won't deliver his weekly Angelus prayer. Now, this is going to be the 3rd time he's ever missed it in his 12 years as Pope. Despite this report, the church says Pope Francis is still alert and he spent his Saturday out of the hospital bed. Now, we reached out to Archbishop Gustavo Garcia Sierra for his reaction. In a statement, he says in part, quote, "I invite the people of God and all people of goodwill to pray for Pope Francis. May the Holy Spirit sustain him and give him the strength to persevere to the end." Getting kids to go to school, especially on a Saturday, isn't easy. Today, hundreds of San Antonio students chose to do just that. Our Devin Karp takes us to Librarypalooza.
Getting kids to show up to school on a Saturday might seem like a big deal, but the opportunity to meet and get inspired by some of their favorite authors at Librarypalooza is too good to pass up.
I probably read about, I don't know, upwards of 50 every year.
That's a lot of books for one person to read, but for high school senior Abigail, each book is a new discovery.
I really love how reading lets you experience so many different worlds. You get to learn about things that you wouldn't encounter in your life normally, and I think that's just a really special experience.
Around 1,000 students from school districts all around San Antonio made their way to Brandeis High School for Librarypalooza, an event where kids get to talk about the books they like, all while meeting some of the authors behind them.
I read their books and I don't really know what they look like or they behave in real life, but getting to know them is so cool because it's like, whoa, you made this and now I know you.
If you find just the right book, then that becomes your break from everything else.
Lamar Giles has been an author for 20 years now, working with franchises like Star Wars and DC Comics. He didn't have the chance to meet authors he liked when he was younger, and says events like Librarypalooza can go a long way to inspire kids to read, and in some cases, become authors themselves.
No writer ever came to see me and my classmates when we were in school. I didn't even really grasp that writers were real people. The people I knew were factory workers in my town. So being on the other side of it, I love being able to walk into a room as a regular person and say I write books for a living and let them see that I'm a regular person.
Reading is something that students like Abigail and Helen want to share with their friends.
I have noticed that people I talk to in my classes are like, oh, I don't really like reading. I think it's maybe the increase in technology over the years.
You know, a lot of people say that they don't like reading, but there's a book for everybody, so I don't understand how that works.
Giles added he hopes up-and-coming authors can start their chapters here in San Antonio.
I'm amazed at how many really enthusiastic young readers I meet. And I tell any writer, if you get a chance to come out here, come. You're going to meet a bunch of great people.
Devin Karp, KSAT 12 News.
Keeping the culture alive. Some San Antonio high school students are doing just that with their own conjunto band. Their passion for practice and love for the music when we return. Conjunto students from Edison High School got the chance to showcase their talents. They played on the red carpet at the Tejano Mundial Awards on Thursday, even opening up that ceremony. But before that, they talked with our Sarah Acosta. She shows us what this music means for South Texas culture and got a glimpse into one of their practice sessions.
1, 2, 3, 4.
You can feel the music in your heart and actually express yourself, I guess, in a way.
Senior Christopher Ramirez has played accordion since he was in 3rd grade. He says there's nothing like the feeling of performing on stage.
It was a great accomplishment for us as a program to be able to go to this event where we have professional musicians from all over the state.
This is just the 2nd year the Conjunto class has been offered here at Edison, and they have about 20 students in the group that range from beginners to advanced.
Jose Villanueva has been steeped in Conjunto culture his whole life and oversees the student Conjunto band at Edison, calling the music a cornerstone of South Texas heritage.
It's about them continuing their culture and keeping this music going. I'm hoping that I can help create the next generation of musicians.
Like freshman Maria Jose Ramirez, who sings and plays the drums.
I feel like playing on stage, it gives you like a sense of pride of your culture, of your ethnicity, and like seeing other people recognize the songs that we're playing and seeing like their joy and seeing them dancing, seeing them enjoying it. It makes me feel like proud of myself that I'm doing it and that I'm showing people my culture.
Their skills and culture on display at the Tejano Awards event in front of professional artists who students say they look up to.
It's very exciting to maybe get to know other artists or like tips and accordion, like do this, do that, and I was like, okay. Maybe we could learn something new.
Sarah Acosta, KSAT 12 News.
I love that. They're so talented.
I love that they're so talented. I tried to do guitar when I was a kid. I could not figure out the strings and play.
It's a lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very talented.
Okay, the accordion is what's really impressing me.
Yes.
Imagine clicking all the buttons at the right time and then doing the whatever motion, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, no, can't do it.
No. Well,
but I can tell you about the weather.
Okay.
We're still in a drought. Sad news.
Even though we had the little fog today?
Even though we had the little bit of drizzle yesterday and today, still most of us in that drought. And we're going to continue to have that drought as most of us, not only in Bexar County, but areas just to the west and north of us in that extreme drought. No exceptional drought at this time, but other areas just to the east sitting just dry to moderately dry for that drought as they've had more moisture as you get into areas near Houston, even in western counties of Fort Bend County to the east of us. But we're still in a drought. Now we do have a little bit of some drizzle still possible, but it's to our eastern side, not to the west side where they're still having those drought conditions. And it is still being picked up on radar, but it's more of a mist than a drizzle. So you're gonna walk outside, feel a little humidity on your hair. You're gonna feel a little bit of that light mist continuing. And that's also partly to blame because of that fog. And it's gonna continue overnight tonight for us in South Texas. And some areas might not see low visibility, others will. And that's just a part of that dense fog that you're gonna see overnight tonight. And especially areas to the coastal counties will continue to have that possibility of that low visibility. But by the time the sun rises, that's gonna really have those sun rays get rid and help diminish that fog. Still gonna have some partly cloudy skies, at least in the morning while that fog continues to push out, but it's gonna be a little muggy tonight into tomorrow. Temperatures right now sitting in those 40s and relatively calmer winds, which is allowing for that fog to just sit and stay over us in areas of South Texas. But good news, wind chill temperatures aren't that different compared to our air temperature. Even though we've had a chilly week or two, wind chill temperatures have been a factor. Most of the nation still feeling a little bit of the cooler air that pushed through. All of us sitting above zero. So there is slowly but surely good news for us in South Texas, as well as temperatures tomorrow. Once again, above freezing. This is going to be one of the first times we've had our air temperature above freezing for probably about a week or so. We're all waking up in those 30s, some of us in those 40s, and our afternoon temperatures will continue to increase into those 50s, even some 60s and mid 60s. So some areas could be a little on the chillier side in those upper 50s. Other areas down near Brownsville and Corpus Christi, or even near Del Rio, could get into those upper 60s, even a low 70 possible tomorrow. But the warm up is coming. You just got to wait till this weekend, and even later this week. In fact, we have temperatures getting into those upper 70s. Some low 80 degrees is possible this week before a weak cold front arrives, but that's getting into Wednesday and Thursday, and that cold front is only going to give us temperatures in those low 70s, nothing like those freezing temperatures we've seen the last few days. So it's going to continue to be a little dreary, at least throughout the next 12-ish hours or so as that fog continues to lift up. But otherwise, tomorrow afternoon and Monday, and gosh, even into Tuesday, very much of a better outlook.
I'm so excited to see 70s, high 70s.
Yes, I know some of the, I don't know about like widespread neighborhoods, but some of the apartment pools are opening up this week because it's going to be so warm.
That's just San Antonio for you. I mean,
That
going
is.
from this cold to that. And, all right, thank you. And Mary, you're following a lot of basketball news this week.
Yes, a lot from the high school level to beyond. We'll have more on the health update for Coach Pop, who's been sidelined for 3 months after suffering a mild stroke. And yes, plenty of action to show you on the hardwood. Which high school girls basketball teams punched their ticket to state after the break? A nail-biter finish in the regional finals next in Big Board Sports. But first, both the oldest and longest tenured head coach in the NBA, Greg Popovich, will not be returning to the Spurs sideline this season, according to a report by ESPN this evening, and his future in coaching remains uncertain. Coach Pop hasn't been with the team since he suffered a mild stroke on November 2nd. This is now the second season-ending report to come out of the San Antonio organization just this week. Thursday, Victor Wembanyama received the answer for his low energy levels, deep vein thrombosis. Plenty of question marks moving forward for NBA coaching legend Popovich. Well, 2 nights ago in the Spurs' first game without Wembanyama, San Antonio had a favorable matchup against the Suns, who don't have a bona fide rim protector. But that wasn't the case last night against the Pistons. Detroit's 6'10" big man Jalen Duren dominated the boards, helping his team out rebound the Spurs 61-38, which led to a lot of second chance buckets. That was the biggest outlier on the stat sheet in the 125-110 loss for San Antonio, where really outside of that, the Spurs played well. And after the game, Mitch Johnson said he'll be rolling out different lineup combinations coming up.
It'll happen naturally too. Just we probably are coming out of our most healthiest phase that we've been in before Victor. And I think we were trying to, learn some continuity. We just acquired De'Aaron Fox, and so, sometimes you can chase your tail if you're just overreacting to whatever happened to that game. But I do think, in the next 30 games or so, whatever we have left, there'll be some opportunities to see different combinations, different lineups. We played some big tonight. We played some quote-unquote small, whatever that means. But I do think we'll look at different combinations.
For us, obviously with him, we continue to pray for him. We want him to just be in good health, period, not necessarily thinking about the basketball aspect of it. But obviously we feel that he's not out there. But, whenever we're out there and not thinking about that, that's where it comes in. That's where, basketball being your sanctuary comes in.
The Spurs go 1-1 in Austin. Next, the rodeo road trip resumes at the Pelicans, who sit last in the Western Conference standings. Girls UIL playoff hoops going down at Littleton Gym this afternoon. 2 San Antonio powerhouses clashing in the 6A D1 regional finals. The Steel Knights looking to get over the hump of getting to state, while the Brennan Bears looking to repeat as regional champs and head back to the Dome. Bella Flemings was on fire early, knocking down the straight-on 3. She finished with a game-high 34 points. but the Knights kept the game close. And in the second half, Samaya Witcher knocking down some key buckets. She led the Lady Knights with 24 points. It would take overtime to decide a winner. Still up 3, Jasmine Travis with a huge block, and she'll head to the line. Travis, though, would miss the first free throw, but she nailed the second, and Flemings needed to draw a 4-point play to win it. No good. Steele wins it 64-60 in OT.
It's everything. These girls have worked so hard for this opportunity. I'm just so proud of them. Sorry. We just worked so hard. It's a blessing. It is.
It just feels good to get here finally. Like I said, it's been a while since we got here, and so like I'm a senior, and I'm just happy to end it off on a bang. So.
This team is really together. That's something that we do really good at, so just keep talking to each other. It feels amazing. I mean, with this program, we've gone through some rough patches, but I feel like this year is our year.
The Knights will play Summer Creek in the state semifinals. Well, we saw a tiebreaker in the game right after a 5A D1 regional championship between two teams who finished in the top 2 spots in their district. The Piper Warriors won the first meeting in November, then the Wagner Thunderbirds won the second clash in January. This one is to keep their seasons alive, and a quick read from L.A. Sneed finds Nia McBride up ahead, who touches it off the glass for 2. The Warriors answering back as Alicia Peavy gets her own rebound and pulls up for the mid-range jumper, but too much skill from Wagner in this one, as Sneed shows why she's one of the best guards in the country. The T-Birds win at 54-42, and they'll face Georgetown in the state semifinals. Also punching their ticket today, Churchill, after defeating San Marcos 44-39. They'll play Fort Bend Hightower next in the 6A D2 bracket. And Fredericksburg topped Davenport and will face La Vega in the 4A D1 state semifinals. Let's read off some boys scores. UIL action. Post defeats Great Hearts Northern Oaks 64-50, setting up a date with Taft in the next round. Floresville defeats Davenport. Southwest taking down Leander. Alamo Heights getting the edge over Jay. And Brennan drops 100 points on Lake Travis. They'll play East Central. Antonian in TAPS playoff action defeats the Village School 70-59. Monty Williams TMI, his squad, falling to St. Michael's 59-33, and St. Anthony getting the win over Fort Bend Christian. Bernie Geneva also proving victorious. Now, coming up later in the show, we're talking UTSA basketball and some men's college basketball.
One of the best times of the year.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Mary. We'll be right back. French phenom Victor Wembanyama is out for the rest of the season with a blood clot in his right shoulder. We'll tell you more about that injury in a minute, but when the news broke, so many people thought about Wemby the person. The second-year Spur is already one of the best players in the NBA, and his presence is felt in so many communities here around the Alamo City. Our Garrett Berger went around town to talk with fans about the situation. He heard about feelings of shock and sadness, but all of them had sympathy for Wemby, and many of them wanted to put it in writing.
Spurs superstar Wemby is out for the season, so we took to the streets to let you wish him well.
How do you feel that Wemby's going to be out for the season, that he's not well?
It's sad.
We definitely need Wemby back. You worried about him?
I won't say I'm worried, but I'm hopeful that the Lord will have mercy on him and bring him back.
I guess he's just kind of a beacon of San Antonio now.
It's awful. I hope he's back on his feet soon.
We're from KSAT. Cheer Wemby's out.
He's out.
Yeah, deep vein thrombosis.
I'll be down.
Want a sign?
Yeah, sure. We'll do red for the ring.
Yeah.
Get better, Wemby. Call me. I'm just kidding.
What do I think? I think it sucks.
What do I think about him being out? I'm heartbroken. I mean, he is the most exciting guy in the NBA.
Welcome to Preliminary. How can I help you?
Hey, could I get a large sweet tea and your signature on a get well card for Wemby?
Wemby's out. He's out for the rest of the season. We're from KSAT. We're doing a get well card.
Really?
Yeah, you want to sign it?
Hey, Wemby, I'm drinking for you, man. Get better, get well fast. We want you back.
He's gonna make it. I have faith.
And that card had dozens and dozens of signatures from people all over town and here from the station. We promised we'd try to return that card back into the Spurs. That way Wemby could see it. So Garrett actually took that massive card to their practice facility yesterday. From all of us here at KSAT, Wemby, we hope you have a speedy recovery. Back to his blood clot diagnosis, the Spurs say Wemby's injury is officially called a deep vein thrombosis. Being 21 should help with his recovery, but it's still a concerning injury. Steve Spriester talked to Dr. Anand Prasad from University Health about that diagnosis. The cardiologist says blood thinners are the first line of treatment for what can be a dangerous injury.
I've heard it described as a blood clot. Is that kind of a simple way to put this?
Yeah, it absolutely is a blood clot. It's on the venous system, as the name implies. So it can be in the legs, it can be in the arms. Most commonly, we see deep venous thromboses in the leg vessels. And from there, it can break off or migrate. And the fear always is that it can break off and go to the lungs and cause what's known as a pulmonary embolism. And a pulmonary embolism is something that can be life-threatening.
Now, that entire interview between Steve Spriester and Dr. Prasad is on our website right now, so you can watch it by scanning that QR code there on your screen or just head to KSAT.com. No, that was really sad when that news broke, but something to look forward to is hotter weather.
Yes, it is sad about Wemby, but good news, we are warming up. We just got to get till maybe tomorrow if you want those 60s, and even Monday if you want those 70s, and Tuesday for 80-degree temperatures. But today in San Antonio, we were still a little on the chillier side. We got to still waking up right around 32. Today was the last day we had that hard freeze for most of us. We got to those 40s, still relatively below average compared to our almanac, but otherwise, throughout the next few days, every day, we're going to slowly but surely warm up, and by Tuesday into Wednesday, we're already having temperatures back up into those mid to upper 70s, even some 80s, but we have a weak cold front arriving Wednesday night into Thursday, bringing our temperatures down to those low 70s, and I'll talk about that and the precip chances we still have for that light drizzle we're seeing out in San Antonio coming up in just a bit.
All right, we'll talk to you then. Federal government firings aren't slowing down. Several senior military leaders were ousted by President Donald Trump last night. That includes the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, San Antonio native C.Q. Brown Jr. Now, that shakeup comes as the Pentagon prepares to lay off thousands of civilian workers. As ABC's Sienna Wang reports, it's led to many Americans expressing their frustration.
In an unprecedented move, President Trump firing the nation's top military leader, General C.Q. Brown, ousted from his position as chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Several other senior leaders also fired, including Lisa Franchetti, the first woman to serve as the Navy's top admiral. Brown was nominated by Trump in his first term, but has come under fire as Trump aims to rid the military of leaders who support diversity and equity, as Brown and some of the others who were fired have done. The president nominating Dan Kane to be Brown's replacement, a retired three-star general who has never served in a four-star position. All of this comes as the Pentagon prepares to lay off 5,400 civilian workers beginning next week in the first round of cuts that could total tens of thousands, as the Pentagon aims to cut between 5 and 8% of its civilian workforce. Layoffs also hitting the Federal Aviation Administration. More than 100 probationary employees have been terminated, including those that produce air traffic navigation maps. Sources tell ABC News.
We want to make government smaller, more efficient.
President Trump insists these cuts are making the government more efficient, but voters across the country are pushing back. In a district near Atlanta, voters confronting Republican Congressman Rich McCormick.
The people would like to know what you, congressmen, and your fellow congressmen are going to do to rein in the megalomaniac in the White House.
GOP Representative Tracy Mann facing pushback in Colby, Kansas.
Is there anything that Trump and Eli could do that you would not support? I'm sure. Tell me.
And polls show voters are unhappy with Trump's handling of one of their top issues, inflation, and his campaign promise to bring down prices on day one. Selena Wang, ABC News, Washington.
One of Governor Greg Abbott's emergency items for the state legislature is bail reform. The state Senate has already passed several plans aiming at tightening the rules as they stand now. Coming up, what these new plans would do to change the current system and how local leaders in their county are reacting. The debate over bail reform is heating up in Texas. Governor Greg Abbott has declared it an emergency item this legislative session. Just this week, the state Senate passed several bills aimed at tightening the rule on who can be released from jail before trial. Erica Hernandez explains what's in that legislation and what leaders at the county courthouse think.
Those pushing for bail reform want to prevent violent offenders from getting out on bond, only to commit more crimes. Here in Bexar County, we've seen this happen time and time again. In 2023, Jesse Garcia, a convicted felon out on bond, shot 3 SAPD officers before being arrested. Just yesterday, one of those officers confronted Garcia in court.
If you'd gone toe-to-toe with me that day in a straight-up gunfight, you would not be alive here now. But you ran away. Like a scared little boy.
Also in 2023, Dominic Rubio was out on bond when he shot an SAPD officer. Rubio was also a convicted felon. Just last month, Brandon Pulo shot 7 SAPD officers after he was released on bond just days earlier. The state Senate passed legislation that would do several things: prevent certain defendants from getting out on a low-cost or cashless bond. People charged with violent offenses like murder or aggravated robbery could be denied bond, and undocumented immigrants charged with a felony would not be offered any bail. District Attorney Joe Gonzalez told us yesterday the state's bond system is broken.
I've already indicated my support for some reform bills that Senator Huffman out of Harris County is proposing. One of those is to increase the number of offenses for which a judge can remand a defendant without bonds.
Now, Bexar County Criminal District Court Judge Ron Rangel feels differently.
To make it a blanket cookie-cutter approach where every single person charged with a certain type of offense cannot get out of jail while the case is pending removes tools from judges. Then you'll find injustices occur.
Judge Rangel, the longest-serving criminal district court judge in Bexar County, believes the problem is lack of funding for the criminal justice system.
If you look back at the last several sessions, they've removed a lot of funds from jails, from prisons, from the criminal justice system.
For some, this key could mean protection, but for others, it could mean their rights get locked up. It'll be up to the Texas House to decide the next move. Erica Hernandez, KSAT 12 News.
Okay, this week has been awfully cold. Still needed the jacket today, but hopefully for not much longer.
Yes, we had roller coaster and then we got the cold. And even then, the cold was still a little bit of a roller coaster. But good news, we have, I guess Mother Nature has decided on a temperature.
I'm over it.
Me too. That drizzle we saw this morning did produce some light icing on the ground, but also on other areas like the pickup trucks. We saw a lot of areas where there was not only on street signs, but on cars, on patio furniture, because it had the ability for the wind to hit it, which allowed for it to freeze faster than just those regular road surfaces. But good news is our air temperature is going to be above freezing, so any drizzle and mist associated with that fog this evening is going to continue to just be above freezing and not really freeze, which is just going to make it a little damp, a little misty, a little cloudy. And tomorrow we're already starting to see some warmer conditions back up into those 60s and even near 70s and almost near 80 degrees later this week. But really earlier today, we didn't really see that much moisture other than just that mist and that fog. But by tonight into tomorrow, we're going to continue to just have that cloud coverage. Stick around for San Antonio. We are still expecting some light rain and some light showers just to the east of us in Houston, but also along the Gulf Coast and the coastal plains. But otherwise, next week, we're tracking more moisture arriving. Not enough to get us out of that drought, but a few more chances of some rain showers. And the rain showers that we saw earlier, that was associated with those storms now going into areas near Baton Rouge, near Lake Charles, and even New Orleans. But the rest of the country sitting relatively quiet, which is good news. We've had those cold fronts push through last weekend, and that was associated with low pressure systems that kept on bringing tons and tons of rain and snow for areas near the Northeast. But for us, we will continue to have more low pressure systems move through. That's going to still bring some cooler air to those 60s to areas near Georgia and the eastern part of the United States. But for us, The next low pressure system we're worried about is going to be on Wednesday into Thursday. That's having a weak cold front associated with it, but not those strong cold fronts we saw where it's going to be below freezing. We're expecting temperatures to be similar to what we're going to be tomorrow in those 60s, having a chance of some light patchy fog tomorrow morning as we continue to have some leftover moisture stick around in San Antonio. And for most of us, areas just to the west of us, near Eagle Pass, near Carrizo Springs, getting into those 70s. Other areas where we see a little bit more of that cloud coverage and that fog tomorrow morning, we're going to continue, especially east of I-35, stay in those 60s and those 50s, especially as you get towards Houston. But throughout the next 7 days, we're going to continue to warm up. We're already expecting temperatures near 80 degrees on Tuesday and Wednesday before that weak cold front comes through, like I said, on Thursday, bringing temperatures a little on the chilly side, but not that chilly, just down into those 70s. And we're going to continue to find a new average temperature as we go throughout the next week or so. But I like to think that Mother Nature is rewarding us with the temperatures in the 70s, near 80s, sunny skies, for all the weather that we put up with the last few weeks.
I blame the groundhog, because didn't he say that it was going to be like cold for
Groundhog said 6 more weeks of winter. BK Bob said spring.
Okay, I'll go with his.
I agree.
All right, thanks. All right, Mary, it's going to be a busy March for you, especially lots of basketball with UTSA, and then, of course, March Madness coming here.
Yes, all of it. Can't wait for it. Yeah, the UTSA women's basketball team already had a double bye locked up for the AAC tournament coming into today, and now they're chasing a strong finish to the regular season. Plus, March Madness is looming, and men's college basketball analyst Andy Cash joins us to see if the Texas team will make the Final Four. Stay with us.